Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we have a fastball player, slow pitch player turned to coach. We've got Paige Smith in the house. I cannot wait for this episode. Welcome to Beers with Beauties.
Doesn't matter if you got Coors, Busch, Bud Light, or a local shop's IPA. All beers are welcome at Beers and Beauties, baby. Let's go.
As we finish the intro, Cowie takes one of the biggest sips she's ever taken at the Beauties Sports desk. Just needed a big old gulp. How you feeling over there, bud?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm going to read you this beer.
I'm all right.
I'm going to read you this beer before we get into the thick of things. Mm-hmm. It's okay.
Okay.
It's called Hop Gravy.
Which throws you off immediately.
Big time. Cans brown.
Big time.
Cans
Visually.
brown. It's from, I think, a brewery called Bent Stick, New England style brown IPA. I'm usually a big IPA fan. I'll drink this one. Oh, you know what?
There's a cool, lightning strike on the back.
This New England style brown IPA pours a beautiful muddy brown with aromas of tropical fruit and pina colada. Oh. The secret to a good hop gravy is tending to it with love, of course, and letting it simmer on loads of Sabro, Vic Secret, and Chinook hops. I don't know. Anyways.
Beautiful muddy. Were those back-to-back words?
Those are back-to-back.
Beautiful.
That's not how you compliment your wife or husband, folks.
You look beautifully muddy.
Yeah, beautifully muddy today. Anyways, I'm happy to be here. Paige, thanks for joining us. It's always fun to have a guest. We get kind of sick of each other every once in a while, so it's nice to have a face in person.
We got to shake it
Thanks
up.
for having me.
Absolutely. So Paige Smith is your athlete name.
That's my athlete name.
And Paige Churchill is your married coach name.
Correct.
Okay.
Whoa, I made mistakes in life.
Yeah.
I want that.
I know.
If someone would have told me, Cowie, you change your last name when you get married so that you have an athlete name and a married name and a coach life name and a after sports name, I might have considered it.
You have two completely new personalities. Like you can be athlete person and then you can totally change. But no, I'm Paige Churchill now.
Well, you got away with the hyphenated because your last names are short enough. Can you imagine?
Right.
Ash and I'd have been wrist to wrist.
Oh, you'd been full across.
Callison-Van Eglen. Nobody wants to spell that.
That is right. Wrist to wrist. That's
Literally.
next level.
Anyways.
That is next level. So we're so excited to have you here. You are our first softball player on the show. And not only that, softball player, slow pitch national team player, along with now current coach. So I'm excited today to just go through the entire sports progression with you because you've kind of hit every single piece of it. So let's start at the very, very beginning. When did you get into softball? When did you know you loved it? Where did you play? Let's dive in.
Okay, so I am the youngest child of 3. So I have an older brother and older sister, and I was a really annoying sibling who just tagged along with everything and had to do everything they were doing. So I probably started when I was 8.
Okay.
And my mom coached me. I'm from a small town.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm from Greta, Manitoba.
Okay.
Stop it. Side note, right in the middle of your story, I have a goalie on my team and she tells me every time, I'm from Greta, Manitoba. We can see the border.
That's our flex.
That's the flex. We can see the border from where we live.
100%.
But the border's an invisible line.
Oh no, there's a customs office.
Oh, the office.
Yeah.
I was okay, folks. What, you think you get
went out there
X-ray vision when
you
you're
put a
born in
flag in
Gretna? I can see that imaginary line that doesn't exist anywhere.
That's the Gretna flex,
I got
baby.
you.
It
You see
is.
that you actually see
the
the border
border.
office.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
Yeah, so I grew up watching my siblings, and then I started playing, and my mom coached me, and I'm very grateful for that. And then I would be so annoying and be like, Mom, throw me fly balls. Make them harder. Make me run. Make me dive. Anyway, so she did that for about 2 years and then was like, I'm done with you. So then she sent me off to go play A-ball in Morden. So I played for the Morden Bulldogs.
Okay.
for I think 2 years. And that was like a pretty big change from community ball for me.
For sure.
Yeah. That's when I went to my first Western Canadians in Calgary.
Okay.
Very fun.
Yeah. So that was fun. It was a good introduction. And then I went to Winnipeg to play with the Manitoba Angels.
Oh, right. They're big rivals with Smitty's, right? Is that not the big rivalry? Is Angels and Smitty's? Uh-oh. Did we start something? Oh, no.
I'm not
What did
saying
I say?
anything. I'm letting Paige answer your question.
Shit. What did I
Maybe back in the
like way back when I was younger. Is that where we're going? Shit. All right. Well, let's continue.
Yeah, so I played with the Angels for 4 years until I went to university and had the opportunity to go to many places with them. We went to like BC and St. Catharines, Ontario, and just got to play against the best teams in Canada. So that was really cool.
That
is
awesome.
cool. Or so you, your mom threw fly balls. Were you an outfielder?
So I pitched and then was a shortstop.
Yep.
And then we were doing an outfielding drill with the Bulldogs, and we were doing like doing relay cuts. So our coach threw the ball. It was supposed to be a relay, and I caught it in the air. And from that moment on, I did not see the dirt again.
No
It was
way.
like, you are outfield and outfield only.
And
So,
that's it, hey?
okay. Yeah.
Center?
Yeah.
Oh, love it. Because I do think that so what's the population of Gretna?
Like 500.
So it's like you go from a population of 500. What's the, like a 4-year span that you go from literally being coached by your mom in a town of 500 to literally traveling across the country? Is that kind of the ballpark there?
Yeah. And that's about when my anxiety started, probably.
That's when that old bad boy kicked in. That's awesome.
No, yeah, it was definitely like a shock to the system, like being
Oh, for
exposed
sure.
to so many different things in a very short period of time. But it was really great.
And all the different personalities you have to get to know and learn, and different coaches and stuff. I do, before we move on, just want to talk like, so was your mom a ball player too? Or did she just step up to the plate because she loves her little baby Paige?
She said she played. Yes, she played.
Yeah. She
Yes, she played. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
She said.
Sad.
I've never witnessed, so I cannot confirm, but
That's like my mom said she curled. And I'm like, well. Sure you did. Sure you did.
I love it.
I think it's funny because like towns of 500, like Pearson, Manitoba, great ball players made in Pearson. Population of Pearson, not many.
Oh, yeah.
It's a thing.
Totally.
we have nothing else to do.
That's what I was going to say. Literally nothing else. I remember getting so mad at my parents, running away from home with my ball glove up to the ball diamonds. Like as if I was not going to be found. I wasn't searching for solidarity. I just was like, well, where else am I going to go in town? To the diamonds.
Yeah, that's right.
I walked to we had like a big like water tower. That's where I would go. So
Whoa, Gretna has a water tower?
it did. It no longer does.
That's so American of them.
That is
Like
very
they could see
American.
the water
influence.
tower across the border and we're like, we need one of them.
Should just bring them over here.
That is interesting.
Yeah. In hindsight, like it is on a pretty major road, so maybe we shouldn't have done that. But
Gretna.
road,
Do your
Main
parents, is your family still in Gretna?
yeah,
Okay, whoa.
my parents are still.
All right.
I love
So we're
that.
still going back. We're doing that trek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so funny because and it's funny just because I have my goalies from Gretna, the amount of pride that people tell me when they're from Gretna is insane. They're like, no, I'm from Gretna.
Heck,
Like,
yeah, it's a thing.
it's a thing.
And we expect no one to know where that is.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It's like you probably haven't heard of it. It's Gretna. It's on the border. It's a really small town.
No.
But
It's true, though, I think, because I still even do that. I said to you today, I grew up in West, man. Well, Souris. And then, like, Souris is big enough, I think, that people know. But the pride that you have, because I still say I've lived in Winnipeg for, I think, 13 years.
Okay. Yeah.
And when people are like, where are you from? I'm like, Souris. I live in Winnipeg. Yeah. Like, I have a home here. Yeah. My wife is here. No, where are you from? Souris.
So true.
Just live here.
It's so true.
Yeah.
I love it. So you make this massive transition, small town. Now you're in Winnipeg. This is where the anxiety kicks in, right? So, and you've declared center field as your position. Yeah. So was it, when you got into the more competitive stages of ball, was it like you were only competing against center fielders? Were you competing to get on different teams? Like, what is the progression for female ball players when they're wanting to make that next step?
Back in the day, there was a lot of, it was a little different. It was a lot of, I don't know if I can say this.
I'd get after it.
There was a lot of like loyalty to your team was
sure.
really big. And like, I would have never have considered playing for a different team ever. Which is a little bit different nowadays, where like kids are attending multiple tryouts, and it's like,
Wherever
the goal is this team, and then this is like kind of like a hierarchy of teams where it was that was.
I don't think that that's unique to ball. I would say. I think that's just the evolution of female sports. That before we were super loyal because you had to be, or teams didn't have enough people and it would fold.
That's true.
Yeah. Right? And so it's like you had a different level of gratitude because that was the option and you were super loyal to it and you would just, no.
Yeah.
I either do this or bust.
Yes.
And now, because there is more, and this spans across different sports, there's more opportunity, there's more pathways, so people are less loyal because now it's about them.
Right.
It's less about build it and it's more about take care of me.
Yeah.
So don't feel guilty. Don't feel guilty in the fact that you had, loyal ties to places.
Yeah, because that's a really good point. It's not just softball. We see this all over the map with all different sports. So it is cool to be able to say that you have seen the progression of that. Like we've both seen the progression of that through hockey. Like you would die for a certain team. And that's honestly how Cowie and I became friends. She was country, I was city. Yeah. And it was like a known thing that you just weren't friends with one another.
To like each other.
No.
And for whatever, like city kids, like, no, there's no chance.
No chance.
Right?
Yeah. And then you talk and you're like, yeah, we're besties for life, actually.
Squash that pretty quick.
So it's like to be able to say you've been a part of that progression is pretty cool. So for you, it was more loyalty to your team and loyalty to the progression that whatever your team was on.
Yeah.
I love that.
And it like the team was successful and we did really well and we would always attend Canadians every year. So like I understand like athletes jumping around because they want that opportunity and they want to be able to go to Canadians. They want exposure and other teams aren't able to do that and aren't able to give their athletes that.
What an interesting, the interesting piece of this is exposure to me. Because before we hit record today, we were talking about the accessibility of sports, right, as a viewer. But now that's transcending into the athletes themselves, where you can't have loyalty to a dead program if you want to pursue something further for yourself. And why is that? Because the accessibility to actually watch the sport. I used to always say in hockey, if you're good enough, they'll find you. I still believe that to a degree, that if you're good enough, your path will find you.
Right.
But if you want to have more ability to dictate your own path, you might need to jump ship from the loyal program to the one that's successful.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah. And even like recruiting, like back in the day, I was recruited because a coach came to Winnipeg. And nowadays, like kids at like the age of, 15, maybe before that, are videoing themselves and sending them to coaches.
Oh, yeah.
And like they have access to so much more than what I did as an athlete, which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
It's definitely, it's one of those things where you like, it's the interesting thing that I think we find so fascinating is we're talking about like, it'll find your path. But we're in this transition of, you're right, girls wanting to take reins of their own future.
Yeah.
And by doing that, you have to be proactive in these training programs, all these other addition things to the actual thing, and getting a recruitment coach and getting all these different things that help you advance within that process. So it's like this weird thing where we can see and identify with both sides, because it's like we've all been through it at some point, right?
They would find you because the pickings were that much more slim. Like, let's be
fair
honest.
enough. Yeah, like fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, like coaches don't have to go. Like kids are literally sending them video. Like they don't need to go out. Well, it might still be best practice, but like, But like you're not traveling to Winnipeg, Manitoba to come watch.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
So where were you recruited to?
So I went to I had committed verbally, and I was so loyal that I still went. So I committed to Valley City State University. It's in North Dakota.
Cool.
And then at my Canadians, so in August, so I had like committed in like July, June of that year. And then in August, we had a really good Canadians, and a school had approached me, and I was just like, too loyal. I can't.
Interesting.
Wow.
The loyalty
Very
bug.
interesting.
Yeah. Unfortunately, fortunately, because obviously, like I wouldn't be
Yeah,
where I am
that's
right now,
right.
which I enjoy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I went there for 3 years, and then my freshman year, it was like the year of the flood, the 2009. So we got flooded out. So then at Easter, when you went home for Easter, you didn't go back because you couldn't.
Yeah.
Valley City has like a million bridges, so you
Right.
physically couldn't get there.
Yeah.
And then I went to Minnesota State Moorhead I played 1 season there.
Nice.
So technically I still have 1 year of eligibility, so
Let's
if
go,
anyone's
baby.
if anyone's watching.
I love that.
Technically.
Technically,
You can have me back.
So you make that trek down there and you play. So walk us through the experience. Like, so first, is there anywhere for female athletes to go in Canada?
Yes.
So it's like, where is that?
Simon Fraser. There's like in BC, and then Calgary has a team as well, but I don't believe like they're in a league.
Okay.
And there might be other places that I don't know of.
I think there's some in the OUA.
Okay.
I think there's
in
a couple,
Ontario.
in
Yeah.
the OUA, but it's not like anyone here is going south. Like,
So that's the interesting part that I wanted to talk about, is because like clearly you were on a team that was playing and participating at a high level. And it's kind of the same conversation that we have in hockey, is like people have this feeling that they need to go to the States to play good hockey, where that has kind of been debunked over the years, where I still feel in softball,
you do.
you go to the States. And that's kind of still the goal of where you want to be.
And I think some of that is also just like weather dependent. Like,
Seasonally,
yeah.
Never would have thought of that. That makes so much sense.
Yeah. So like we like in Valley, like obviously North Dakota, same weather as us, but like we would then travel to Florida for a spring trip, and then we would play in like St. Cloud in the Dome in the winter.
Oh.
Is this Valley City? Is this DAC?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they classified. So now it's like sun. I don't know. And,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was always interesting because isn't that Dakotas? But then it would stretch. Like, was Bemidji considered into this?
So I think Bemidji might be. We played them, but I think they might have been D3.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were NAIA, and then Minnesota State Moorhead was Division 2.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the other interesting thing, Addie, is like even the tiering of sports and softball is different.
Totally. I was like, I could follow that conversation, but I feel like there's a lot of people listening that would be like, what just happened? what just conspired here? You know what I mean? Because I do like, especially when you're in Canada, it's U Sport and ACAC. And then as soon as you literally drive right across the border, it's NAIC.
Well, it depends on where you are.
Yeah. Well, that's what so the Fraser. Sorry, I'm mixing up the names. Sorry, where did you play first?
Valley City.
Valley City. I don't know why Fraser Valley came into my head.
Because I said Simon Fraser. Maybe?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, could be.
Oh my God! But so what division is that?
So at the time, it was called NAIA. So that would be it's something separate than like D1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, it's
right.
It's like a different classification.
And it still exists today, right?
Well, but in a different realm.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Now it's DAC. Now it's Dakota Athletic Conference, I think.
Okay.
But, I see.
I think. But anyways, we don't need to go down this rabbit
hole.
But what I was saying is like what my premise of asking that question is the fact that just south of our border, like, so for context of the quality and accessibility of softball, when you cross the border, it's almost like hour by hour, you hit a new college town with a team.
Oh, for sure.
So what I was getting at is like, you can't play competitive softball after grade 12 here. And like, it's not like you can go to U of W or U of M or ACC or BU or any of these, but you cross the border that you could see growing up. And every hour you run into a college town with a softball program that's reputable.
Yeah, great point. Because it's people look at it as something that's so far and unattainable, and it's literally less than 5 hours away. You could be at a really good program.
Yeah, and even within that, then there's also like junior colleges, which are 2-year colleges, which is kind of like a gateway program for like to go into a 4-year school.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you participate in a 2-year program and then you could still have 4 years of eligibility after that?
2
2 and 2, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
They're kind of like feeder schools for like 4-year schools.
Yeah.
When you were playing, who was your biggest rival? Because I know that area is super tight.
Jamestown.
For sure. Yeah.
Stupid Jim. Fuck Jimmy's.
It's so funny.
Let's go. Yeah. Because that area is so tight and so condensed. Yeah. It's like, that's so funny.
We're like a half an hour away from each other.
Yeah.
Too good.
So that's so funny. I just think softball is like, I don't know if like hockey is small. The world of hockey is small. The world of softball gets smaller in a real hurry. So I think let's talk about like the state of today. So for athletes now, from where you went, have you seen an evolution of where athletes want to go if they want to pursue a softball career? Are we starting to move further south? Is North Dakota is that pocket still a hot spot? Are we seeing any transitions in that regard?
I would still say North Dakota is a hot spot. A lot of kids want to stay close to home.
Accessibility, yeah.
Excuse me. But I like some of the kids that I've coached are like going to like further down, like Florida, for example. Yeah, so like I do think kids are starting to venture out a little bit more, but still lots like to stay close to home, and also don't really realize that there's so many different divisions that like what they see on on TV, you know, a really small number of athletes actually play that.
Right.
And then they think like that's the benchmark. That's where I need to be. But in reality, like how many months can we play softball, right? Like, is that realistic? Like what else is out there for you? And being able to have a coach that even like has connections into the States and like that gets emails saying like, hey, we're looking for a shortstop. Do you have any kids born in, oh boy. Like,
you know, for sure. Like,
yeah. You know, like that would be interested. And yeah, so.
Do you find that there's more American schools reaching out to Canadians? Because I know that Americans are very patriotic in their way of sport. Like, do you find that there are coaches in Florida and those places looking to Canada, or is it more?
I would say more like schools closer to home
Yeah.
that are, that someone has a connection to that will then forward the email on to like a club team saying like, hey, do you have any athletes that are hoping to, move on, and what that can look like for them?
There's still, I think it's still, and this is parts of, it's interesting. I think we lag so much in a world of social media, in a world of all these, like, we're still not there at a point of the knowledge of what exists here is so limited.
Oh,
It's so limited. Like you think back to Bree in golfing.
oh yeah.
No one's looking to Winnipeg for who's your next big golfer. Like they're like,
Totally.
we golf for like 6 days a year.
Yeah.
We obviously that's a joke, but but it's kind of the same. It's like they're looking up here and thinking, man, do we really want someone who can only practice for 2 months? Well,
it's so funny that you bring up Brie, because that was my exact thought when she was talking. When you talk about weather and you're mentioning those things, because it's one of the if you're good at golf or softball or whatever, it does seem like you're literally moving down. There's no way around it. A gym, like when it's winter here, like a gymnasium will never feel like a baseball diamond. It cannot be replicated the same. As much as we do the best that we can with what we have,
Right.
it'll never feel like a ball diamond in the middle of winter.
no.
So it's like, do you make that jump? There's the whole Netflix series on all those small little baby golfers that literally moved down because their parents are like, you're exceptional.
Right.
You have to golf all the time. And I wonder if that progression is going to start to happen with softball.
I think like it has I would say that is something that
Is happening.
has happened. Yeah. Like now, like some kids that I used to coach are now like they're playing in the States during the summer, and they're doing like travel team with them, or even right now, like they were just in like Las Vegas. So like
Parents are happy about that one.
Yeah.
yeah, so like they're, like I don't know if travel like teams like that were even like if they existed when I was playing.
Yeah.
Like if that would have even
Right.
been an option.
Sure.
But
Let's talk about the state of softball here.
right.
We don't need to, like, this is the thing, is that I'm just going to have this disclaimer out into the world, is that everything that we do is from a point of there's always opportunities. I don't care if you're the best team in the league
That's right.
year over year over year. There's an opportunity to improve. I don't care if this is your favorite podcast that you listen to or not. If it is, there's still opportunity for us to improve.
Right.
And so we're coming at it from a position of, I think there's always room for us to improve. So from your experience growing up in softball in Manitoba and now spending time coaching here in Manitoba, let's, where are we at as a province? Is your perception that we have declined since your time playing softball here in comparison to where we are today?
Absolutely. I think even like just the number of teams for club ball has declined significantly.
Okay.
And the competitiveness amongst those teams like is different.
Okay. Like less parity, is that what you're saying? Okay. And do you, from, we're removed. I grew up in ball, but I'm removed from it. You played some ball, we're removed from it. Do you think, like, are we investing enough energy as a community, as a province, as softball in this province in bringing girls and women back into the sport?
I think we're doing a better job than what it was.
Okay.
So we are starting to see some athletes come back from, let's say, college and was like, hey, I want to continue on with this. And like, what does this look like? So we do have some athletes coming back who are now coaching. But it's also volunteer.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a lot of time to devote, especially like as a young person who has, maybe is trying to establish themselves in a career or whatever that looks like, still enjoying their early 20s.
Yeah. Doesn't want to commit to 14-year-olds yet.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
when you don't have your own child within the sport, sometimes, you know, you're dealing with some things that isn't always pleasant.
Yeah.
Parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's true. We can be honest
we
about
can
that.
be straight up
Yeah.
honest with that because we've dealt with that.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. So like for myself, that's probably been like the athletes are wonderful to work with.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, the parents can be a little bit challenging, and being able to navigate that and
Yeah.
That is such a, because one of the things we want to talk about with you specifically is because you did make the transition from, you know, playing to coaching. So you obviously love it. There's a special place in your heart for the sport. But I think that it is something that we might need to bring parents on, because every single time we talk about coaching, people are like, we need to really support our coaches, and parents need to really understand the whole process of what this is all about, because I think that is one of the key things why women don't get into coaching and why they don't come back, is because instead of hearing, you're going to empower women, you're going to have such a great time, you get to be out, like for you specifically, be outside in the sun, doing what you love. It's get ready.
Oh, yeah.
Parents are coming in hot,
Yeah.
and it's like you're building up this wall, and it's like, when are we going to get over this and remember that sports is fun?
Yeah. And we also don't afford people an opportunity to not, like, you don't have to eat the whole freaking cake. You know what I mean? Like,
So funny.
it's, but you either, the two options are, you decide not to coach because all of the parents, the time commitment, all the things, or you decide to give 2/3 of your every extra minute of your life to coaching. And that's the two extremes.
yeah.
It's not like we offer people and say, hey, you can only make it every Tuesday. Hey, hitting is your specialty. You want to come out just for hitting practices? Hey, you're a whatever. You're, if you like certain skill development, we don't afford people an opportunity to sign up
chance.
for a piece of cake.
Right.
It's like you either buy the whole cake or you get none.
I love how you're referencing cake, because that makes complete sense. It makes complete sense. Be a hitting coach.
Yeah.
Come in here and be the hitting human being so that your time is valued. People know what you're there for. It's like, nope, you have to be here all the time.
Yeah.
It's 100% commitment. It's, did you, when you made the choice to become a coach, was that the feeling you had, or walk us through that kind of thought process when you were done playing and now you're moving to coaching?
So I tried to play and coach at the same time.
How'd it go?
Whoa, yeah, let's talk about it.
Well, so I think it was my girls' provincials, and like my provincials were the same weekend. So like from running to go play my ball and then coming to like coach the kids was an adventure to say the least. But I thought it was a cool opportunity to see them see me play and
sure.
Absolutely.
you know, be able to put a little bit of backing behind what I'm saying.
That's right.
That's true.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
It is true.
Yeah, so that was really fun. Basically, I've kind of been like, I coach 1 year and then I take a year off. I need to like regroup,
Isn't that interesting?
and then I come back, and then
What
I
a
go.
yeah.
It was just I've done that since 2014, and my last year I was coaching was 2021, and I was 7 months pregnant. Do not recommend. For everyone's sake.
Yeah.
Hormonal coaches is not fun.
Yeah.
For anyone.
Yeah. Fair.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So the decision, like, I've only had male coaches my entire life.
Yeah.
Other than my mom. And then Team Manitoba, I had 3 female coaches, and that was the first time playing for female coaches. And personally, I did not like it. It was such a change for me. It was a shock to my system.
Yeah.
Walk us through it, because that's a very interesting topic to me. I think that's fascinating. So you got the opportunity to be coached by 3 women, and it didn't go well.
For me personally, like they're
For sure. Oh yeah.
wonderful human beings, and
Yeah.
I love them all. But for me, like I don't know what it was. I had never been coached by women. I've only been coached by men. So I don't know if I just held like a different respect for men. Like truthfully, like I don't know what that was for me. So I was very nervous going into coaching because I'm like, well, if this was my thought as a player, and then my college coach was a man, and then at Moorhead was a woman. I was just nervous for that transition because I knew how it was for me. But it was welcomed with open arms, and they were happy to have like a young female coach that was a little bit more relatable than other coaches. So I think like for myself, I wanted to, I don't know, like work with the athletes and like be relevant to them and help them like connect on like an emotional level as well. Because that can be much more difficult to connect with them. Like men, they don't know what you're going through. Come on.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Right? And like, I think it's really important to be able to like adapt your coaching style to each athlete because every athlete needs something different from you. So like, I recognize that, and like my adaptability, I felt was a positive thing for me. So being able, like, I wanted to be able to provide that for the athletes to have that experience. Not saying that other coaches did not provide that, but I recognize that would be a strength.
Oh, absolutely. Like when I think about all the amazing things, because it's so funny that you mentioned that, because I remember the first time I was coached by women was the Canada Winter Games, and it was like, whoa. You definitely took a step back and was like, okay, this is something different, because realistically it was all very forward fronted men that were ready to go, and it's and then so you finally get that opportunity, and I just feel like it made an impact, but I think there's something deeper there in you noticed.
I also, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I also think, so this is personal experience, personal thought, okay? So I remember the first time that I played with girls, because in both ball and hockey.
Right.
Because I played ball with the boys and I played hockey with the boys. And then there was a point there where you pivot and you transition into, or in my case, there was a girls team finally.
Right.
And so I played that. So I remember being scared to play with the girls because the only thing that I had ever known was the boys, and boys growing up it is different. And I recognize these differences in my work life, in my personal life, all these things, and that boys can just hold each other accountable in a different way.
Yes.
And so I had that experience as an athlete first, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I know, I get it. Where they can just call each other out and then ends there and it moves on. And to me, there was always less emotion in boys playing sports with boys.
Yeah.
So that's number one. Number two, I remember the first female coaches I have, and I would say that they were molded by men. If I could just generally say that, is that I had the most quote unquote masculine, in the way that masculine was presented to me as an athlete, in terms of my previous coaches, female coaches I ever had in my life. Why? Because I think their representation and their leadership was all male.
Right.
And so I think now as we continue on, we're starting to see a more natural woman coach, because they haven't been coached or learned all of their behaviors from what I'm going to just quote unquote a man.
Right.
And so it's so interesting to sit here as now a spectator of sport, a fan of sport, an athlete, all of these things, and to think back of that evolution of all of those pivotal points in my life where, it was like I remember distinctly those people, those experiences, those times, and now I've watched them or lived them with you and coaching little teenage girls.
Yeah.
It's different. The world is different.
You got my brain spinning on that one. You got I'm like, whoa, because you're totally right in the sense of, even though we were being coached by quote unquote women, women being influenced by men's perspective of what the women's game is supposed to be like. And the way I have always interpreted the difference between women's sports and men's sports, I've said it a couple times on the podcast now, it's boys compete to be respected, or women need to be respected in order to compete. And it's like, now with you saying that and saying like that whole interpretation piece of it, it's like, that makes sense. That women were trying to push a certain narrative on female athletics, and now there's like this whole new turning point of people coming back into their sports and being like, whoa, this is the way that I was able to be successful, and this is how this works, and this is where I felt valued. And
and I think, you know, the terms, it's been coined as old school coaches, right? An old school coach versus a new school. And at what I'm just, and this is, again, and people can be upset with me for it, this is Cowie's interpretation of this. Old school was male dominated. It was a masculine male voice, and there was a standard, and it was hard, and accountability was it was like, you either do or don't. There's no gray.
Yeah.
And I used the words the other day, is that like, there's almost there's less space in the world for tough love, because the world is hard.
oh yeah.
And so there needs to be a level of compassion, and there needs to be a level of reciprocated respect, that you didn't always feel like your coaches respected you, or I didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like, old school is just almost, in a way, it's just emotionless.
Yes.
And now we're willing to be like human and coaches.
Yeah.
Which is like, what a novel thought.
Yeah. What? We take care of our athletes?
Yeah, that we actually care, and we're okay to be a human representation.
Yeah. I think that's
This took
fascinating.
a sidebar from fastball. I'm super sorry, but
it's right though, because it feeds exactly what Paige was just saying, in the sense of like, your initial female coaches weren't really feeling it, but then you came in and were able to help your athletes in a way that you felt positive and encouraging, and this is how I was successful. Like, and I think that's the transition we're in women's sports. And we need more women coming back and doing that.
Yeah.
Huge. And we haven't even gotten to the fact that you played nationals Slo-Pitch.
Oh, yeah. I had questions about that.
We've got so many questions about nationals
Paige, when she
Slo-Pitch.
told me, she's like, well, just FYI, Paige played on the national team. I was like, really? Wow. And she's like, yeah, but Slo-Pitch. And I was like, isn't Slo-Pitch beer league?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's talk about it, because that's the barrier we're breaking today.
Isn't it?
Because
Like,
everyone
I'm like,
thinks
I
Slo-Pitch
thought it
is
was
just beer league.
Yeah.
She ain't.
It's like adult safe hockey.
It's Highlander. You get free nachos if you don't get thrown out of the game.
If you don't get a penalty, you get nachos.
I love that.
I would be there for that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
we
except
all
for
are.
no one's on a team that gets no
But at
penalties.
least that's right. The one person that gets a penalty just gets booed by their own team.
The person who gets the penalty has to buy the nachos.
Yeah, that's right. This is on you, man.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, break it down for us, because well, let's just learn about how you got into that even.
Okay. So one of my friend's moms played Slo-Pitch.
Let's go.
Played co-ed Slo-Pitch, and was like, hey, you want to come out for a tournament? I was like, okay.
Why not?
So we carpooled to Portage La Prairie. we met at the Flying J. I forgot my wallet in the car. So
Sweet.
again,
This
anxiety.
is before
It's really
the time
great.
of Apple Pay.
Oh yeah, no. Before I had a credit card, like
Okay. We're talking a minute ago.
oh yeah. Yeah. So we went and played in Portage La Prairie. Yeah. So was it beer league? Yes. Was everyone on my team drinking? Yes. Was I reading a book under a tree? Yes.
How old
So
were you?
23.
Whoa, Paige.
So quite naive. And that kind of started everything. It kind of started a different period of time in my life.
I was going to say, is that just Gretna habits rubbing off?
So So after that tournament, I no longer read books under trees. I was introduced to a new life. Yeah. Yeah, so I started playing just strictly co-ed, which plays with like a normal, I call it normal, like a 12-inch softball that all of our athletes play with. Women play with the 11-inch ball that U12s play with.
Oh, whoa. We're going to finish your story, but we're going to finish your story. We're going to
Because we have little hands.
We need a button here.
Does it benefit us? 100%. Is it insulting?
100%.
Whoa.
Yeah, so that thing flies. But so so going from the 12-inch ball to 11-inch ball is like crazy. So I played strictly co-ed, and then I was approached by a coach for women's Slo-Pitch, which I did not know was a thing. And then so a couple of fast girls joined, and then other ladies who were already playing women's. And then I think that was 2017 or 16 or 17. And that's when we went to our first Canadian championship for Slo-Pitch.
Cool. Where was that?
Very cool.
London, Ontario.
Okay. That's a nice city.
Yeah, they had really good facilities. Women's Slo-Pitch is super competitive.
I believe that.
And like so big in the States. Like huge. Like great. Like it is crazy, these athletes. Like their sponsorships. Like
Really?
yeah.
Whoa.
Everything's
Yeah.
bigger in the U.S.
I know.
Mashed potatoes, you get twice as many there.
Yeah, let's go.
Don't matter.
Texas
Weird
toast,
reference.
baby. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got started by by playing in, I think it was 2016 or 2017. And the rest
putting
is
down that book and grabbing a beer. That's how
That's
you got
right.
started.
That's right. And
I
now
love
I'm gluten
that.
intolerant. So picking up that cider.
Picking up the old cider. Oh my gosh, that's so you've been introduced to this whole new life, and it's massive and
Yeah.
it's huge.
Yeah.
And so you go to your first Canadian championship. How do you do?
We got 4th.
Okay.
Who's the heavy hitter? Don't tell me Ontario.
Everyone
That
says
year it was Ontario.
Oh,
It's now BC, so
Oh, okay.
that's nice.
We take
Okay.
that.
Yeah,
we take
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Not
it's
that we don't
usually-
like Ontario, just
Love,
FYI,
yeah.
but you just own everything.
It's like
It's annoying.
spread the love a little bit. Come on, Ontario.
Like,
So Ontario at that time was a powerhouse. So then
And still are.
And still are. And then so you play that, and then you continue on playing and practicing with your Team Canada throughout the year. Like
So the men had border battle. So it's called a border battle. It's like one tournament that you just join, and then so lots of us we hadn't played together before. So the men had been doing it for many, many years, and then the first border battle, I want to say, was in 2016 or 2000. Oh boy. Anyway,
Somewhere in there.
and we won.
yes.
We beat the Americans.
Border battle.
let's go.
Love it.
Big fan. Big fan of that.
Yeah.
Is this as a provincial team? Sorry. This is like just a club team. Like you throw together team.
Like across the province, across provinces.
Okay, so this is the natural team. Okay,
yeah,
okay. I was
sorry,
like,
we've progressed.
yeah, okay. I was like, wait, is this just Manitoba
know.
versus North Dakota? Or is this like national? Okay, got you. I
A
got you.
little border battle. Like you're at a field.
Like you're
I love
throwing
it.
it
You're at
across the
Greta.
border.
I love it.
Okay, I'm
Yes.
following now.
Yeah. So that was, also eye-opening
Right.
experience. Yeah, it was amazing to play with the top females
For sure.
within Canada,
For sure.
not just provincially. So that was
It's cool
Neat
to have
experience.
this conversation because I think people, like we mentioned before, have this kind of thought in their head of Slo-Pitch of being like, okay, go out there,
Yeah.
throw a ball. And it's like, this is a competitive sport. Like, this is a legit thing. And I'm so jacked that you beat USA.
I have questions.
okay.
Does does real Slo-Pitch have a rover?
No.
You know
That
how Beer League
always
Slo-Pitch
drove
has this
me
weird
nuts.
rover?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like so a lot of times in the States they play like 5 infielders. So there's someone straight up the middle. You're somewhat protecting your pitcher because middle's open.
Yeah.
Right.
And then 3 outfielders. But when you do like, sometimes it depends on the team. So like if your team, like if they're just hitting gaps in the outfield all day long, then you switch to a 4-man or woman.
Yeah.
So then, so you're 4 across.
Okay.
Yeah, so it just kind of depends on the other team and like what you guys, like what works for you as a team.
Is it a
Interesting.
6 foot? What's the arc got to be?
In the States, it's lower.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a lot lower.
So what do you
I want
do
to say
in a
it's between
border
6
battle?
and 10. 6 and 10. It's in between 6 and 10 feet, and they play with a 1-and-1 count.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so like even that's just completely different, and like they
Yeah.
can do like fakes.
Oh.
How do you do a fake?
fake?
Like you don't throw it.
Stop. So,
God, can you imagine
No.
so
some jazzy pictures?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
absolutely.
mind
So they
a few, yeah.
wind up, they go and they don't throw it.
Yeah.
But then that's just it?
It's not
Or-
like it's
And
a
then-
balk or anything.
No,
it's just
and
legit.
You can pump 5 times. You can not pump. Like it's
What?
yeah.
Do they do the?
Some do, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my
Some throw
gosh.
like knuckles. Some
Yeah.
yeah.
So they could be like essentially winding up and then cut, like for the people listening, like twitching their arm
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
So that you're just constantly going back and forth in the batter box.
yeah.
And that's
not
illegal?
like
and that's legal?
But also, it's not like it's humming.
No.
Oh no, that's
So,
totally
like,
fair.
Cool, bud. Like,
But
does it work?
does it work?
Like it kind of throws you off balance when you're like
I guess
you're not used to it.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you're
yeah.
in Canada and they're throwing it 15 feet in the air, and this person's throwing it 8 feet
It
in
is
the air.
different. 6, like
Oh.
that's why I
Oh.
asked, because you think about Slo-Pitch we're thinking of. Beer League Slo-Pitch.
That shit is.
It is like you are uppercutting a baseball.
Oh yeah.
Because they are like dropping out of the sky onto the plate.
yeah.
But you think about 6 feet, like that you're swinging.
Oh yeah, no, that's way more direct. That's
It's entirely
so
different.
it's 6 to 10 feet in the States, and then in Canada it could be up to 15 feet.
I honestly
That's what
don't
you're
know
saying?
what the arc is. It's significantly
It's so-
higher.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then my second question, are the bat catchers actually skilled ball players?
Yes.
Like we're tossing people out at second.
Like it's
Are we
a
stealing?
like it's a live plate.
Yeah.
Meaning like there's no
Oh,
like
yes.
yeah, you're not running behind the plate. There are plays at home.
So that's where we need to, for everybody listening, this is not going to Bueller Park where you're walking in with your cooler of booze and it's like drops on this rubber plate.
And the umpire drags their heel across by the plate.
Yeah.
Like, don't touch the plate, only run past this line.
Yeah.
You
You're
are
just
out
running-
if you touch the plate.
Yeah. Literally.
touch the plate. That's
Okay, so
right.
it's actually like it's ball, but with
Yeah.
an arced pitch. Okay, that makes me
Oh.
feel
A lot
so
of
much
like
better.
especially in the States, like a lot are like ex-college athletes.
Yeah, that makes me feel so much better.
That is
about it.
so cool.
Because I do also, this has nothing to do with women's sports. Have you seen the difference of the rules that are coming to the MLB?
Yes.
Okay, so Major League Baseball. We're gonna talk. We're just gonna digress for 2 seconds.
Love it.
Major League Baseball is putting in a pitch count. They've made the bases bigger. You can no longer. You know how you used to be able to shift.
Right?
So if you knew a guy always pulled the ball,
Yeah.
you could pull your shortstop. If I'm a left-handed hitter, you could pull your
Lefty.
shortstop over onto the
Yeah,
second base side.
yeah.
You can't do that. You can't have your infielders on the grass. So it's not like you can throw them out and be this like mid-range rover position.
What?
You have to be on the dirt. So interesting to me because I think about this goes beyond MLB, but fastball, baseball, all of these sports in general, they've been around for eons.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they're needing a refresh. And so I think it's a cool perspective that our Major League Baseball, the best quote unquote ball players in the world are having to relearn their sport in a way, in the way that they've approached it from like a theory perspective to the way that they've hit a ball, field, all of these things they're having to rethink. Pitchers having to rethink that you have a certain amount of time when they're on base. You can only go to a base, I think it's twice before. If you don't make, if they're not out, then you can't commit. So that runner knows that you can't come here anymore. So I can take a bigger lead. Oh yeah. So they're rethinking as a sport, baseball.
And this is for fans. Whoa. This is for like
fan experience. Like what is this
because
for?
It takes forever. You think about how many fans boo when the pitcher takes eons to do their big, I chew my gum 6 times and then I tap my glove 4 times and I whoop, 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 and then I deliver the ball. A baseball game can take you 4.5 hours to experience.
Easy, for sure. For sure.
So we're changing the entire aspect of baseball. And now we're at a point where softball, all these other ball things, in this province specifically, have lagged. And it's like, do we need to start thinking holistically of ball in general? Does it need more fan exposure? Do we need to change? What do we need to do to refresh the excitement around baseball, softball, slow pitch in this province?
That's right. Is there one thing that when she goes through that whole thing that jumps out to you, being like right immersed in the community, that you think this would make a big drastic change?
Oh boy. Like no, like off the top of my head, no. I can I'm just thinking of the things that have killed it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but
fair enough.
But also reversing wrong isn't an okay answer.
That's exactly right. You know what I mean? Like
that's an okay
looking
answer.
at what has not been working for all the athletes in this province and being like, okay, well, if we take that away and switch it around, because that is fascinating to me. I'm going to look into that when I get home, because making the bases bigger, like. What? Like, think about all those guys, like all the fans of Major League Baseball that are like diehard fans that are now going to have to like reinvent their identity within their team and their sport and all this stuff. Like, that's not just a change for the player's perspective. That's a fan and a tradition perspective as well.
Oh, there's
that's
so much.
Crazy.
Like it goes, are you seeing the late years of their career decide to retire? I don't want to rethink the game.
This is it.
Are you seeing sports betting as an example shift? Because now I don't know how to put money down.
Right.
Because it's an entirely different game.
That's right.
There's like an entire trickle effect. We saw some of those similar things happen in hockey when they changed net sizes and pad sizes and equipment sizes and all of these different things. You can only have a certain amount of curve, Right?
Yeah.
We've seen it happen.
Right.
It's not unique. But for baseball, it's unique. They haven't done anything like this in my lifetime that I know of.
Yeah. That's very, very true.
And extra innings, having that runner at second base. So that's an international rule that we have in softball that they've incorporated.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
There's like a lot more strategy to that then too. Like, that they aren't doing. Like you see a lot of the teams and you're like, well, you're supposed to bunt them over. Like, come on.
That's right. Of course.
Yeah. Put them in a spot where all you got to do is poke it out of the infield and you're in.
Yeah. So
holy man, that is like.
So then at a minor level, is baseball adapting their game to
a softball? Yeah.
Like to reflect what's happening in the major leagues if it is different.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or is it going to
like
trickle
college
down
and-
all the way?
Yeah.
So is that sorry, that just pumped my head to a completely different direction in the sense of like we have this conversation all the time in hockey. Like a lot of people believe in like it's either hockey or ring it. Like, is it kind of the same thing with girls where it's like baseball or softball? Or do you find that more?
No, but that's the part. That's where I was talking before we started the podcast of somewhere between us and my parents. Men's fastball, in most scenarios, kind of died.
Like it exists, but like not to what it was.
Yeah, and so now it's become gendered in the sense that baseball, hardball, small ball, overhand pitching, raised mound is boys, is a boys sport.
And then
softball, windmill or underhand pitching, shorter.
Is women's.
Yeah, is a women's sport.
Predominantly women's,
Very fascinating.
Yeah, like when I played like for, I think it was the Bulldogs. Like Winkler had a fastball guys team that we played against.
My dad, when I was a kid, like I'm telling you, yeah, in your generation even, that's unique for you.
Wow.
Because I never experienced that. That's unique.
Yeah.
That's
that
cool.
was pretty neat. Yeah, it was great playing against them. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. That would be fantastic. It's just interesting to hear the progression of all the backside of all of it. Because I think to get to where you were, to where you played, to be able to say that you were Team Canada Slo-Pitch and to feel that same competitive nature at that Slo-Pitch tournament, like that's a real big circle we just went through there. That is so cool. So before we start to wrap up this episode, in the sense of we didn't even do what we said we were going to do at the top of the show, and that reminded me of, but to walk us through the experience. So you're a part of Team Canada, like, walk us through playing against all different teams. Like, what was that like for you?
That's a big question.
So I was the only Manitoban. So
Interesting.
like going
Whoa.
in, I knew faces. I didn't know anyone. And I am an introvert through and through. Believe it or not. So like it was a pretty intimidating environment to be a part of, because one, I am now competing with these other athletes for a position.
Right.
I don't know them. I don't even know their names. Like,
Right.
I couldn't pick someone off the street. Like, I have no idea who these people are. And then we all joke, like, so we had to put in for like our sizes and stuff like that. And then we get our clothing. So our meetings are different times than the guys. So, because the guys also have a team. And so we get these like cotton t-shirts, these like hats that no one's gonna wear because they're like half the size of our heads. They might have been for children. We don't know. Right. I committed. I wore mine.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
But like, and just like looking at the clothing, and then it was like, what, we weren't gonna see what the guys had, and the guys had like these dry fit, like Nike stuff, and we're just like, what the hell is
What's
this?
going on?
So apart from that, it was, and like, yeah, it was a really cool experience being a part of that. Being a part of like strategy, like, you know, like you don't think of like Slo-Pitch to be strategy and like, yeah.
I love that, because it's like, you say you're an introvert, but that's a very competitor answer. Like, I want to be a part of strategy. I want to figure out how to win. Yeah. And I want to be a winner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I agree too, because I think we don't have time today to get into the nitty gritty of being handed less than. We've used the words before on this podcast that in too many scenarios, women are supposed to just be grateful. And we're teaching in too many scenarios our children to also just be grateful.
Yeah.
And so when your soul is standing there accepting the t-shirt and putting on the hat and saying, I'm super fucking grateful for this junk, you know, when the people next to you, the men next to you are clearly getting something other than, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
Without going into super in depth of it. It's like, that's the purpose of this, is to unite people across sports, whatever sport you as the listener are, is the fact that there are like-minded women who've experienced very similar things, and we all think we're in it alone. Yeah. And when you have the conversation across sports, it is not unique. Nope. But you are very right, Addie, and that's the other thing I love about sports, is that as an introvert, you instantly become extroverted when you're in your sport.
Yes.
I own this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am confident in this space.
Yes.
And I think that's the coolest thing to watch as we watch sports now as fans, or then talk to people like, you know, I not to put words and things in your mouth, but it's like, you probably don't come on a podcast. Have you not had experiences in sport that give you the confidence to come here and sit down and talk through it?
Right.
That's right.
And so that's the beauty of sports, whether you compete at the highest level or not.
Right.
Absolutely. So, I'm trying to think of the best way because we talked about like legit so many things here and I'm excited, but let's talk about you and what you're doing right now and then where people can find you if they want to work with you. Like, where are you coaching right now? And if people are like, okay, well, my daughter's a softball player and I want her to be with Paige. How do they find Paige?
Excellent question.
Uh-oh.
I live at 123.
At home with my baby.
At home sleeping. Currently, I am at I always get the name wrong. So it is the Softball Regional Skills Development Academy.
Let's go. Couple fist pumps there.
RSDA. I always call it RDSA. So it's RSDA. We are, I think, in the fourth year, I want to say, maybe fifth year, fifth year of running the academy, and it runs through the winter. This year is a little bit different, where they actually, some of the athletes they're going to Georgia at the end of March, and then some other athletes will be able to go to Kansas to play in a tournament there.
Very cool. Are they going to get to go to the Field of Dreams?
I don't know.
Whoa, what a great follow-up question. It is now. Going now.
It's en route. Yeah. it's in the cornfields en route to Kansas.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if you're looking for anything softball, head on over there. That's fantastic.
Is this a city thing? Is there
softball
rural?
Manitoba? So it's through Softball Manitoba, and it's all of Manitoba has access to this.
Okay.
Wow.
Very cool.
That is fantastic.
So we will put the website in the show notes, and we might throw it on the screen. If you're watching this on YouTube, we'll add a little and follow along here.
Let's go. I love it. And so Paige, this is your first time at the Beauty Sports desk, and something that we've done numerous times is we're always just so excited to get going that we always forget to ask people to follow, like, share, rate, review, give us all that stuff. And that has become Cowie's specialty.
I was going to say, were you practicing?
I was trying and I'm like, give it up.
Just pass
give
it
up,
along.
Addie.
Yeah. So usually, actually, we've gotten in a habit of doing it off the start because we suck at remembering. But today we remembered at the end. So if this is your first episode here, thank you for being here. Welcome to Beauty Sports. If this is your, what are we on now? 67th episode. Wow, you are a winner. You win nothing other than our love, but thank you for being here.
Lots and lots of love, baby.
The best way, I say that every week and then I rethink about it after. There are multiple ways of sharing this. Share it with a friend. If you have a softball friend, if you have a friend who is a fan of sports, women's sports, men's sports, sports in general, that wants to grow sports for the right reasons, share this. You can send it by text message. You can do whatever you want, but make sure that you invite people to listen to this content and engage with us. If you can, what really helps new people find this podcast is if you go on over to wherever you listen, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any of the other random apps, give this a 5 stars only rating. Like I said last week, you can send your negative feedback to Addie. And a review. We would love to hear your thoughts and feedback on there. And it also helps people who aren't sure if they want to listen find out that they do want to listen because you love the content. And last but not least, our housekeeping. If you want to rock some Beauties merch like Addie has on her head that I am not wearing today, so I still look like I work at AGI, you can head on over to beautysports.com/shop. There's lots of good stuff on there. If there's something that you want that is not on the shop, make sure to reach out to us on Instagram. You can find us at Beauty Sports Doc. You can find Addie at Addie Miles of It. You can find me at Cowie14. Let us know what you're looking for, and we will do our best to make sure that it ends up on the shop so it ends up on your shoulders or head or wherever you wear that item.
Could you imagine if I ever tried that? I'd be like, come on. Like, that's great. And it's so valuable. And the one thing I do want to add on top of what you were saying is, let's dial into like the Slo-Pitch community in Winnipeg because it is huge. We're talking Buhler. We're talking Stony Mountain. Are we not? Little Mountain Park?
Little Mountain.
Little Mountain. Little
like
Mountain.
20
Stony
minutes
Mountain
away.
far. Waverly?
There's
there you
Waverly
go.
League, yeah.
Oh, I love it.
You know what, though? We just found out that next Slo-Pitch tournament we're in, when we need a ringer, we know who to call.
Let's go. Paige, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for showing your every aspect of your career, talking to us about it all. We really, really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. It was a great time.
I love it. And Cowie, it's been a while, my friend. Final words.
Final words this week, Paige. It's been a pleasure to get to talk fastball, softball, slow pitch, hardball, whatever you want to call it. It's been a pleasure. It's been a long time, and I'm a big fan. So thanks for being here. For you who are listening, if this is in your ears or if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you for joining us. We will be back for the next Tuesdays. My last note here and final words. We're in the second week of Canada Games by the time this hits your ears. If you haven't already, follow 2023.Canada Games and follow along with our young athletes because they're in the next generation of people we're going to watch on TV. Addie Miles, it's been a slice.
I love it. Thank you all, and we will see you next week.